Hello, 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 hello. I'm Carl Taze Ransom with the C Note, episode 6 of the C Note, coming to you tonight. It's been quite a challenge tonight. Trying to get this thing rolling. We'll see what's going to happen. Here at the C Note, we keep it 100. We're the real recognized real. And we also see you fake asses out there too. I'm Carl Taze Ransom, waiting for my very special guest, Mr. Rakeem Jamal, educator and writer. Let's try this again. Here we are, and I'm about to hopefully, let's see if it comes through this time. If it works this time. Ah,
Finally
there we
worked.
go. Finally. All this work to get
Yes.
you on here.
All this technology. Man, it's been a trip with this stuff.
It's been a trip. This week has been quite a trip, which I'm not surprised by any of it. And we may talk about some of that if you want to.
Look,
Um,
I have
anyway,
time. I was like, oh, I did the same. I looked online. I said, oh, that's the beige people problems.
beige.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if I would call them beige. The, beige has a little color in it. But anyway, there's a little bit. I'm going to behave. Anyway, well, maybe not. Hey, people out there, this is the C Note. I'm here with my special guest, Mr. Rakeem Jamal, who is an educator and writer. And we're here tonight to talk about his struggles with and his triumphs over drug addiction and dealing with mental health issues and so forth. So, you're doing good today, right?
Very good today.
Very good today. That's what's up. That's what's up. How has your new year started off?
It has started off. It's actually starting off very productive. I've been grounding myself spiritually and emotionally because, as you can see, these are some uncertain times that have been transpiring. But
Mhm.
I know that my faith in my higher power tells me that this is all for the good.
Oh yeah, gotta have that spiritual connection, which is something that Black people have had naturally, but we have been kind of separated from that because of what we've been raised to believe. We've been raised to believe that the Creator is something that's outside of us, which is not true. The Creator, that energy, that spirit of the Creator lives inside of us. But we've been taught to look at God, or whatever you want to call that high power, as some type of outside entity. And so you have people running around lost, saying, "Where are you? Where are you, God?" But God, that spirit, if you're in tune to it, lives right inside of you.
Right. I
Lives right
mean,
inside of you.
not to interrupt, but God even tells you in the Bible that I created you in my image and that the same power that I have, that I spoke into the universe was the same power that I given you. So he's basically telling us right there that we have the power inside of us. He's not saying, the older you get and the more that you start to read, you start to really understand that the instructions that we've been looking for this whole time have been right in front of our faces. It's just we've been getting, I always tell people it's been right thing, wrong people.
Right.
We've been
Look,
watching the right movie, but we just been watching the wrong version of the movie.
yeah, those movies tend to have a certain you know, people cast in those roles that shouldn't be in those roles, but I'm not gonna go there right at the moment. But you know where I'm getting at. But then you also hear that uh, God breathed the breath of life into us,
Yep.
right? Which means that to me that God is inside of us. Now, I'm used to, and I know you were doing the same thing too. We're used to referring to that energy, that spirit, God as He.
Right.
But to me, that energy, that spirit doesn't really have a particular gender. It's both male and female, so to speak. Um, so I don't know. I'm not going to get too heavy. Some people say mother, father, God. Some people
Right.
just say father, God. But whatever you feel comfortable with. But again, that spirit is something that lives within inside of us. It's not an outside entity, and that's why some of our people are so lost because they're running around searching for that power, that higher power out there somewhere when it's right there inside of them the whole time. And we, as people from descendants of Africans, being the first people on this planet, we have a natural spirituality that we've been separated from. Some of us have been separated from it, believing what we've been taught to believe and growing up looking at that picture of a white man on the wall with that long stringy hair and whatever else. But
I mean, that's a whole
yeah,
subject. That's a whole lesson in
uh,
theology in itself, and in spiritual brainwashing and the
yeah,
disenfranchisement of the black race. But that's that's a whole
that
nother teaching
that's
for
one.
another day.
Yeah, that's another reason why we so difficult for some of us to break away from it. Um, the hold that they have on this, it has a lot to do with what we were raised looking at. That image of that white person as being our savior. Nah, I big got over that. But
I mean,
anyway,
I always said this before. Who God is to you is never going to be this. That's one thing I want us to kind of come to grips with as a people.
mhm,
We arguing over these different sections of I'm a 7 Day Adventist, I'm a Presbyterian, I'm a Catholic, I'm a or whatever.
mhm.
It's like we're fighting over a piece of God when God is trying to. I'm the same. Like it don't matter what you slap a label on. If you slap you can slap any label on a piece of manure, it's still gonna be what?
Manure. Uh, Look, exactly. I mean, basically, Malcolm X did a speech called "The Ballot or the Bullet," which in that speech, when he's addressing the people, he talks about the fact that he's Muslim,
Mm-hmm.
but he's a black nationalist, meaning that he cares about all black people, no matter what your religious denomination or affiliation is. And what he said was that when we come together to talk about empowering our people, we have to stop bringing religion into the conversation because um, when we bring religion into the conversation, we start to argue about it and start having disagreements. And we don't get anything done once we start arguing back and forth. We don't make any progress. And what he said was also that, when if they kill me, when he said if they kill me, they're not going to kill me because I'm a Muslim. They're not going to kill you because you're Presbyterian or AME or whatever. They kill us all because we're black, plain and simple. So we need to stop arguing over, religious denominations and so forth like that. None of that is really important. Um,
Right. At the end of the
you
day, they
know,
don't care. They know you black before they know your religion.
right,
That's a mute.
right.
That's a moot point. And I've always been a person that believes that before I believe religion was it's a man-made tool.
Yeah, it is.
There was no such thing as there was no such thing as religion. I still don't believe there really is, but I will respect the fact that you believe what you believe and what you practice is what you practice. That's your version of your truth. And at the same time, when we do come together and we want to have these discussions on change, we have to really, like Malcolm X said, take the religious aspect or take our religious doctrines out of it because religion is a work of man. And
Hmm.
anything created by man it'll tell you is doomed to fail.
Right. And some of the stuff that was created by man, created by our people, have been tampered with and tainted by those who have gone across the globe, um, you know, raping and killing and stealing and pillaging everywhere they went.
Right?
Um,
They
and,
these are the
and, and some people think I'm being mean when I say that, but I'm not being mean. That just happens to be a fact.
and these are the
Nowhere,
same groups of people
right,
that told us that God wanted you to be a slave. Does that make sense? When God says in the Bible, "I created you to be free and free indeed,"
right.
that don't make sense.
Not at all. It doesn't, not at all. But we're going to get into the topic of the evening, which we tried to get into, folks, on Christmas Eve, which we thought was a perfect time to do it because, during that time, well, some people see that as a celebration time, a celebratory time. But for a lot of people, it's a very depressing time. People who have lost family members during that time and stuff like that, it brings up, you know, bad memories and stuff like that. So it's not easy for everybody. But anyway, here we are today. Um, we're going to talk about your struggles with drug addiction and mental issues and so forth. And also, we're going to get to your triumphs over it because you stand here today as a strong black king who has triumphed over those issues. And I'm very proud of you and happy for you. So, as you know, a lot of people try to tie everything to their childhood as far as traumas and stuff like that, which is very true. A lot of traumas do stem from childhood things that happened that people never dealt with or got any type of therapy for, whatever. So, for you, how was your childhood? Was it like a normal childhood? Did you have any uh, you know, abundance of toxic stuff going on, or was it just a so-called normal childhood, whatever that is, where you didn't really have any issues and you just kind of fell into that situation with getting into drugs? What led to
I will
that?
say that my childhood was filled with a lot of I don't knows and uncertainties and being told one thing and find out later that it's something different, or it was just a lack of being brought up without a sense of feeling like I fit in somewhere.
Okay.
I came from a background where my mom was, unfortunately, like so many people, had a fight with drugs, and it just kind of shifted the whole narrative in my life. I went from one day being with my mom to the next day. It seemed like the next day, like you're gone, and here you are with somebody else living in their house, living under their rules. And I will say, for the most part, other than the earlier parts of my childhood, it was pretty average. Nothing really outside of me happened, except for like a few major incidents that happened not because of my family, but because of outside interference or outside influencers.
Okay. How many siblings? Do you have siblings?
Yes, I have three sisters and four brothers.
And how many grew up in the same household with you?
Just my two brothers.
Okay, I'm asking that for a reason because a lot of people will say, well, people grow up in the same household, and some people may take a path and end up on drugs, and others don't. So did your brothers who grew up under the same roof with you, did they end up, using drugs at some point or whatever? Or
To speak for my fam, well, I'll speak for me. I say I use drugs, but I can honestly say I really don't know if they
you
did.
don't
As
know?
far as me growing up, I have never seen them do it.
Hmm.
But as of today, currently, I won't really put them out there like that. I will say, as far as I know, like, no, they haven't never done anything, as far as I know.
Okay. Because some people will try to say, well, that's an excuse because just because you may have went through certain things or this or that don't mean you had to do this and that. But things affect people differently. You can have two people in the same situation, and it affect them totally differently. And who's to say um, this person is wrong because this thing affected them and
Right.
it didn't affect the other person. Because people tend to be, well, black folks tend to be very judgmental of other black people. We
Right.
tend to be very compassionate and understanding towards other people that are not black. But, we put a lot of pressure and, whatever the word, I'm looking for the right word. So we put a lot of responsibility on black people to be perfect, a lot of conditions, like even when it comes to dating, a lot of black people who date other black people put all these stipulations on black people of what they will and will not accept. But then they would turn around and date a white person that doesn't meet any of those qualifications. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, I say part of my thing was mine was a lot of pain, internalizing a lot of hurt, anger, frustrations, and a lot of uncertainties that I wasn't aware of. I always had the question of, well, what made my mom do this? What made my dad do
Hmm.
this? Why did they feel like this? How did they end up going down the path they went down? And like you said, another big thing in the black family is whatever happens in this family stays in this family. Whatever happens in this house stays in this house. I'm totally against that. If it hurt
Mm-hmm.
me, if it hurt me, it hurts my family. We're going to talk about it. It's going to be what it's going to be. What it's going to be. We're going to have that unpleasant conversation. We're going to talk about it because a lot of what we do as we become adults is nothing
Right.
but laid over hurt from when we was a child because we didn't have that space to sit your parents down because a lot of families, and I'm not saying that other races don't do this kind of stuff, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
specifically talking about us because that's who we're
Right.
here for. We're both black men. We both raised by a black family. You
Right.
know, we tend to, when we go to our parents, they want to get defensive, or if you do tell them something's going on with you, they turn around and tell your business to everybody. So you don't have, they don't establish that safe space that a lot of other groups of people do.
Mm-hmm.
There's no
Well,
grounds for mistakes. I see parents that their kid will go to them and say, I'm feeling this type of way. They be like, well, what are you upset for? You don't have nothing to be upset about. Why can't a person just be upset? We don't want to walk. I tell somebody, I'm not going to want to walk around happy all the time. There's a difference
right.
between internal gratitude and just toxic positivity. And I'm so grateful that people are starting to realize that the toxic positivity movement is that positivity, you know, everything is good thing is not healthy. We need to talk about that negative,
Oh
that
yeah,
fake
definitely.
positivity thing. Like, no, sometimes you're gonna go through a hurt and you want to be able to go through that hurt in a healthy way, saying like, hey, this bothers me because you said this to me or you did that
Mm-hmm.
to me, and I just want to let you know it hurt me. Can we talk about it? Nobody wants to go to somebody and every time you talk to them, they want to get hostile, defensive. And one thing I will say that helped me heal as a person was when I was able to sit down with my parent, well, with my mother mainly, and just kind of let her tell her side of the story. I listened first and then responded to, what I was feeling while she was going through what she was going through. I was able to finally like process her version of it. I took myself away from my feelings and looked at her for a change. It's like, wow, you really went through all that. No wonder this happened to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have to understand our parents, and why they act the way that they do in certain situations because a lot of times they may have dealt with some type of trauma that was never healed or whatever. But I've been pretty blessed in the mother department. My mother was a very loving, caring, or still is a very loving, caring mother. Um, and she's always been there. I would be able to talk to her about stuff. My biological father, of course, he was a different story. He was quite abusive towards me growing up, verbally and mentally and a little physically or whatever, some other stuff I'm not really going to talk about on here. But and I did grow at some point to begin to hate him. Um, that hate didn't happen right away. It grew over a number of years. And by the time I was 14 years old, he went to touch me and I told him that I would kill him if he ever put his hands on me again. But you know, I'm at a point now where I don't hate him anymore because I realized that, well, he had a drinking problem. He used to have a drinking problem. He doesn't drink anymore. But I realized that that drinking problem probably stems from some traumatic stuff that happened to him growing up that he never dealt with. And so he took whatever he dealt with growing up out on me. Uh, so I don't hate him anymore. And I'm happy that he stopped drinking or whatever. So we do have to be able to look at our own people in general, as well as our parents, and be able to forgive them. Because a lot of times they just did the best they knew how from what they went through and what they learned and so forth.
Right.
Um, so you talked about depression and we had conversation before. You talked about depression and being so suicidal and stuff like that. Now, we had a conversation and you told me about a whole lot of times, a great number of times that you tried to commit suicide. How many times was that again?
31.
And what type of ways did you try to take your life?
I'll say it was pills, guns, knives, razors, you know,
Razors.
yeah, like slitting the main artery on your neck or your wrist. Uh,
And
I
what
went.
happened in those cases? Somebody was able to get you to a hospital or
No, I didn't do it right.
oh, you didn't do it right.
Hmm.
Or maybe your higher power didn't allow you to do it right.
Right. I didn't cut
You know
deep
that?
enough to where it did anything. The only thing it did was just cause like a minor cut, and
Okay.
you slap something on it and keep it moving. And at one point, I got to this phase where if I got real angry, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean like real angry, like I would start trembling, and then I would just like cut myself like all
Hey,
over.
Tyson. Mm-hmm.
And the
I
cutting
think,
led me to like slashing myself real deep because I felt like if I couldn't feel any type of joy or happiness, the only thing I'm gonna ever feel in life was pain. So I would inflict pain on myself.
wow. And you also said that you used a gun, so you tried to shoot yourself as well?
Yep. And both times I tried it, it got locked. The thing jammed. It wouldn't work.
You know what? That's the ancestors right there. The ancestors and the creator were looking out. They had work for you to do here. That's why that stuff did not work in your case. And I'm glad it didn't work. Uh I mean, you say 31, 32 times. It's no mistake that you're still here. That stuff didn't happen because they didn't want you to leave here. You got work to do. And to help our people like you want to do and to help black youth and so forth. Um, wow, that's amazing. So you're a teacher now. So which
Yes.
subject do you teach?
Well, I'm actually third grade, so I do math, science, English language arts, and social studies.
And how long have you been a teacher?
It'll be going on 7 years in September.
Okay. And so exactly when did you stop the drug use?
I actually stopped in June 19th, 2019.
So you've been dealing with this while you were teaching.
Yes.
And so how does that affect your work performance and being around the children and everything? Did they
What
ever see you like that, or anybody ever catch on to you
I know,
being high?
one thing I will say about kids, well, children in general, children are very perceptive.
Yes, they are.
We don't treat, sometimes we don't treat children like they know anything. They may
Hmm.
never tell you to your face they know something, but in their actions and in their mannerisms, and sometimes they do tell you to your face like it is,
Right.
they notice that you change or something's going on with you because you act different. And
Hmm.
they notice it like instantly. Like
Right.
I remember when I first started using, I wasn't that bad. It was like manageable. I would just go home, come to work, go home,
Hmm.
go back to work the next day, like nothing happened. But as it got worse, it started getting to the point where um I'm using at work, and if I couldn't use at work, I started getting like real irritated. And I was taking it out on some of the kids, and that's not
Oh
something that
no, that's not good at all.
kind of made me sit back for a minute, like what's really going on. And I don't want to be the reason that a kid goes through a traumatic experience. I never want
So,
to have a child say, because Mr. Coleman did this, I ended up doing this.
so because you realized you were taking it out on the little innocent children, was that your breaking point to get?
Actually, no, it was I ended up leaving the job, or the job ended up letting me go because they noticed that I was like falling asleep at work, and
Oh wow, okay,
kind of out of it here, but not here at the same time.
right, I get it.
And they let me go, and I ended up becoming more depressed because now I don't have a job, or the one thing that I love to do, I can't do it no more because I'm not able to
Hmm.
function right.
Right.
So I ended up leaving, which I will honestly say that was the best thing that they ever did to me. Let me fire me was the best thing they ever did, or kind of let me go, not fire me, but let me go, because that was the best thing they ever did for me.
So the firing is what ultimately led to you saying enough of this.
Yep. I mean, I was getting to the point anyway, but I was still in that mindset of, if I can only feel pain in life, why live any longer? I said, if I'm
Right.
gonna die, let me go out on my own terms. If I can't kill myself or hang myself or do any of that extra stuff, let me go out on
Yeah.
my own terms. So I decided that I'm gonna drink and drug myself until I can't no more, and that be the end of my life.
Wow. Man. Um, When you talk about depression, I mean that's really heavy right there. You talk about depression. I know there's different types or levels of depression, and it's not always about just feeling sad about something all the time.
Right.
Sometimes it comes from out of nowhere. I know because I myself also have dealt with depression and stuff like that. I'm in the performing arts and stuff like that, and like back in 2018, in June of 2018, I was in a production of the musical Ain't Misbehaving. Um, and when I was backstage about to go on, this was 5 minutes before the show was supposed to start. I mean, up until that point, I felt great. I felt great, no issue. And then, like 5 minutes before it was time to go on, this feeling just came over me where I just felt like blah, like why am I here right now? Um, and the whole time I was on stage performing that night, singing and dancing and acting, I felt like I wasn't even inside of my own body. The whole time but I could see myself standing on stage watching myself on stage perform. And the whole time I was performing, I was critiquing myself. Like talking about I'm not doing good right now and stuff like that. And I told the director after the show was over, what was going on, and he said he didn't even notice anything. He actually said that was like one of my best performances that night. But I was inside of my own head at the time, just tearing myself apart, So I just wanted to put that out there because people think that depression is just automatically just feeling sad about a specific thing. And sometimes that depression just jumps on you
Right.
unexpectedly from
And
nowhere.
depression is more than just sadness. It's being
Right.
getting irritated for little things, withdrawing
Hmm.
yourself. Some people resort to drug use, alcohol. When
Hmm.
it gets real bad, it goes to suicide attempts and,
Yeah.
negative thinking and just not wanting, having low energy, not wanting to do nothing. It's a list of things that depression encompasses. And part of my thing, one of my biggest hurdles that I had to get over was we know what depression is, but sometimes we forget to address what causes the
Right.
depression.
Right.
And a lot of our, I finally had to do that sit down. When you do the real sit down with yourself, when you examine yourself, you're like, why am I depressed?
Hmm.
And the answer I got was because I was hurt.
Yeah.
I had a lot of hurt in
Well,
me. I had a lot of anger that came from that hurt, and the anger manifested into depression, not feeling valuable, feeling worthless, feeling like nothing matters in life. If people can't love me, what's the point of going on any further? So that's why I started turning to drugs and drinking.
yeah. It all stems from hurt and misunderstanding and so forth, and not um, realizing your own worth and power because a lot of times sometimes because parents may have not been taught this themselves, they may not teach their children to know their worth and to love themselves and stuff like that, because I also, because of certain things that happened to me growing up, I did not realize my own power at that time and I didn't realize my worth. And I was running around trying to be loved by other people, trying to get love from other people instead of loving me. But now I'm somebody today. I do realize my worth and I know my power. So I'm not pressed about that from someone else. Um, you know, because that other way got me into some bad situations with some toxic relationships and stuff like that. But there's one thing about me though, I never let those unhealthy relationships make me become jaded over love. I still believe in love. I'm still a romantic and all that. Just as romantic as I was before the first time I fell in love, which is a very powerful statement to make, because a lot of people they've gone through bad relationships and they tend to um, become those people that hurt them.
Right. And,
They
and I
bec-
mean, I realized I did the same thing after when I got married when I was like, what, 20, probably 22. And we
Mhm.
lasted for about a year. And during that time, after we broke up, I realized I had become so angry with him because of what happened between us that I just gave up on loving people. So
You
I
took that out
started,
on other people
I took
who
it out on
didn't
other
have any,
people. So I
they
would
didn't
do,
have anything to do with that.
right.
Right.
I would self sabotage a relationship or carry around that same hurt instead of like processing that hurt and letting it go. And I finally can say I'm in a place where I thank my ex for what happened. You know, we had a good run. It was a lesson learned, you know, and I will say that I wish him all the best in the world. I have no ill will to him. I hope that, you know, he is living his greatest life.
Right.
You know, I hope he's living his best life. And I don't have any angry feelings to him. Like if I was to see him today, it wouldn't bother me.
I feel you can't hold that in. I mean, I don't have any bad feelings against people that I was in relationships with that may have hurt me as well. I mean, if I see them now, I speak, I keep it moving. Um,
Right. I could
no,
speak to you, but there's nothing left beyond that. Hello, how you doing? You know, nice to see you, and keep it going.
exactly. I mean, well, it's just one of the people that I was involved with. It went a little bit beyond just being toxic. He was actually dangerous to a certain extent mentally. He he ended up like 4 years or so after we broke up. He was in a relationship with somebody else, and let's just say that person is no longer here on earth. Um, he murdered the guy.
Oh my goodness.
Um, well, he obviously had mental issues, which of course, when you first meet a person, a lot of times people who have mental issues don't show it. They
They
know how to
hide,
cover it. They know how to cover it up well until they know that your heart is involved in them, and then they let that that crazy stuff show.
and I
Um,
mean, I've been the victim and
you've been
the
on both sides of that,
I've been on both sides of that.
the
So I will
perpetrator.
say, yeah, the perpetrator and the victim. But I will say,
Wow.
I ended a relationship in 2018 because much like the person that you dated, he was dangerous and he was like extremely unstable, and it got to the point where he was the first person. He made me realize that I could walk away from somebody
Hmm.
to protect my peace and to protect my physical self and my emotional self, and nothing will happen. You'll still be okay. Life goes on. You heal, and life goes
Right.
on. So I honestly thank him the most because he taught me the biggest lesson that I think I needed to learn when it came to relationships. Won't nobody love you until you love what's inside of you first.
Right.
And all that same energy you putting out is the same energy you're gonna keep pulling back in. You're gonna just see it in a different
Mhm.
face. So thanks to him and his what he did or what what we went through, I learned the value of loving myself before anybody else. Before I let anybody else love me, I love myself. And it took me a long time to get to that place in life where I embrace myself.
Hmm.
I tell
I
myself
feel you
every
on that.
I tell myself every day, am I perfect? No. Am I gonna mess up? Yes, but is it the end of the world? No.
Hmm.
You know, I talk positive to myself more. I affirm myself every day.
Oh, it's very important. You have to do that.
And
Um,
I just love who I am and who I continuously become because I feel like I learn something new about me every day.
hmm.
Like after I broke up
I,
with him, I realized I had a love for art. I love to paint, I love to draw, I love to write, I love the arts.
okay, so you didn't tell me about that part about painting and drawing. I just knew about the writing, which
Mhm.
we're going to get into. But with the person that I was with, he came off like, as they say, Prince Charming at first. Um, until he knew that my heart was involved. And then once he found out that my heart was involved in him, then he let that other side show and he started acting like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. He would go back and forth with that. He would be sweet and nice, and then he would act crazy out of the blue again and then back and forth. And he liked to keep me upset. He would make up reasons to argue, and he would accuse me of cheating, which I wasn't doing. But he was accusing me of it because that's what he was doing. He was being a little hoe. I don't cheat. But and he used to say that stuff to me about if I can't have you, nobody else is, stuff like that. But I know how fortunate I am to have gotten away from this person. Um, very fortunate. And I don't know. the brother that he murdered, but I still feel bad that whoever he was lost his life dealing with him. I feel bad that somebody lost their life dealing with him. And not too long ago, like a couple of weeks ago, somebody I know was actually murdered by the person that they were in a relationship with. Just recently here in Baltimore. Um,
Right.
Somebody who was a very sweet brother, very nice brother. He's always had a smile on his face, kind of nerdy acting. So I'm really sorry that that happened to him. I did have a question in my mind, but it kind of left.
I just want to
When you
say
said,
this, and this is to men,
"Oh yeah, that's what I was." Okay.
women, no matter what type of relationship, heterosexual, same gender loving.
Hmm. Hmm.
If somebody shows you who they are, believe it. Don't give
Yeah.
them that second and third chance to prove to them who you are when they showed you the first time.
Right.
There are
Even
some things you can look past. There are some things that eventually change over time as a person gets older or just wise, matures and comes into their own. But putting hands on, threatening, shaming, bullying, picking fights with you just for the sake of arguments, leave that person where they at.
one hit is one
respect
hit
your
too.
respect your boundaries and
Right.
say, hey, this is not for me. You ain't got to argue with them. You get up, get out the way. Get up and get out the
Right.
way. Some things ain't worth fighting with. Some people ain't worth the fight.
Right. One hit is one hit too many. It's only
And
one.
that's my motto.
You
Mom always
know.
told me, she said, one hit is one too many. Then you let them do it one time, they do it again.
Hmm.
The last guy I was with, he put his hands on me. That was it for me. I said, it's time to
Yeah.
go. You
Exactly.
tried to grip me up and choke me. Oh no, it's time to go. It's time to go. I packed all my stuff
Right.
up and walked right out. I left his house in the middle of a blizzard.
Wow.
I was that determined. He thought I was joking. I said, he put his hands on me. He choked me up. He tried to shame me and embarrass me and call me all types of
Hmm.
losers and stuff. I said, you know what? I'm not going to deal with this. And that's when I realized I loved myself a lot more, because if I'm able to walk away from a situation like that,
Right.
that gave me the power that I needed to say, hey, I'm worth more than allowing this person to talk to me some type of way. And sometimes abuse ain't just physical, it's mental abuse,
Exactly. Yeah. Like I.
emotional abuse. Just when you see a person's real colors and it's like, wait a minute, don't give that another thought. If it's dangerous and it's making you feel unsafe and uncomfortable, leave. Just say, don't gotta give them no explanation. Your life and your peace is worth more than some wee wee or some cooch out here. Some kitty cat and some sausage. Go be by yourself.
Kitty cat and sausage.
Ain't nothing, ain't no kitty cat or no sausage out here worth dying over.
Yeah, well, some people don't know their worth. That's why they put up with it. Um, and also in the brother's case that I just mentioned that was murdered a couple of weeks ago, he was one of those people that always wanted to see the best in people, uh, and always wanted to see the best in every situation. So he probably held on because he was thinking that one day this person would change if he keeps loving them.
But if they
Um,
slap you upside
but
the head 50 times a day, that is the best. That is the best. You are seeing the best. That's the best version of them.
yeah,
You
and this
can't make
person.
somebody love you the way you love yourself.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. And but this person that he was with literally stabbed him in the back. He put a knife in his back, literally, and that's how he died. But you said that you were on both sides of that spectrum. You were the perpetrator and the victim. Um, so to those people that you perpetuated that behavior on, have you ever reached out to them and apologized for taking out on them what somebody else did to you?
Actually, yes, I have, and that was the most. It's different to be the victim, but when you're the
Hmm.
perpetrator, it's a whole level of bringing you down to earth.
And I want to also say that you're a very stand up and brave brother to admit that you've been on both sides of that spectrum, because some people would not admit to that. They will only admit to being the victim. A lot of people would not admit to being both. But go on, I'm sorry.
Um, I will say, like, my biggest thing is, like I said, I was dealing with my own demons, my own hurts, and they would
Mhm.
manifest in arguments and very mean spirited and angry name calling. like calling someone, and one thing I learned is, and I learned it from one of my exes, is that what I was saying to him had nothing to do with him. It had everything to do with me. I'm calling
Right.
him a loser because I feel like a loser, not because
Right.
he is one, but because I feel like that. That's how I'm feeling. I'm
Hmm.
projecting my negative feelings onto him. You know, threatening their life, saying I'm
Wow.
gonna like burn you down with your mama in the house and everything. Horrible, mean, evil
Wow.
things. Like if
I can't
you,
even imagine you acting
and
like
that's the
that. You
thing.
see,
People don't
see,
believe me when I say I was that
because
person.
you seem like such a sweetheart. I mean, that you would be like that to somebody,
And I would say honestly, deep down, I am honestly deep down underneath all that hurt. I am a sweet person.
Hmm.
I'm the guy that's like, I will reason with you before we even. Like I said, if I feel like we got to fight, that's it for me. We're not doing all that. I'm not
Right.
going to be fighting you, engaging you in that type of behavior. But due to how I was hurting on the inside, I was really negative to a lot of people that did not deserve it.
Hmm.
I was the one that was out here. You know, I would get tired of somebody and then self sabotage, like get rid of them, not speak to them. And then on
Hmm.
to the next one. You dating the same thing just with a different face.
I've often said that people just move on to the same version of somebody that they just left, just a different name and different face.
And what
That's
I had to
all.
do was that when I left him and I really had to sit down, I was by myself. I had to be by myself for a couple of years to get myself right back together. I was like, I'm
Hey,
not going
Niecy.
to be repeating the same patterns over and over again. I'm not going to be going through
Right.
the same cycles over and over again. I said something in me has to change. And when I started making the change slowly, the quality of people that I started meeting were changing. It was getting better. It was getting better. I met a few duds along the way, but even
Haven't
they
we
even
all? Haven't
and
we
I mean
all?
even
Yes.
they were a lesson learned. I dated one person
Right.
that would sleep all day, but then want to come to your house for 30 minutes at night at 11 o'clock at night. We're not. Oh no, we're not doing that. I got tired of
Mhm.
that. I'm not nobody booty
Right.
call. I'm a grown man.
I know that's right. Let that be known.
I'm a
Let
grown
that
man.
be
We ain't doing no
known.
1 a.m. Booty call. This ain't.
Right. Exactly.
So I was like, I can't deal with that. I want somebody that's gonna, if you're gonna be with me, be with me. Don't part. You can't. There's
Hmm.
no part time in this. If I
I
give you full
agree.
time work and commitment, I expect, as my expectation, full time work and commitment as well.
Yeah,
And when
that's
I
how
started
some great.
really,
Well,
and when I started really sick, like this pandemic allowed me, before I met the person I'm with now, this pandemic allowed me to sit myself down again and really get
hmm.
into the heart of everything that I was dealing with.
Right.
And I
I
would
mean,
say this
look.
pandemic was the greatest thing that ever happened in my life, because it made me sit down, deal with myself, the ugly self, the shadow self. That
Hmm.
one thing I will say is, a people, we got to learn how to deal with our shadow selves, the dark negative, the dark self. Excuse me. We got to learn how to deal with our darkness.
Right.
Everything is not always perfect. We got to know how to deal with. We always say we don't want somebody to do this to us, but what do you do to other people?
Right. That's
Even like,
true.
I don't want
Like.
nobody being rude and nasty to me, but are you rude and nasty to other people?
Hmm.
I
I
want
mean,
to be
like I
treated.
said, like I said, you admitted to the fact that you were the perpetrator and the victim. A lot of people have become the perpetrator as well because they do take on the characteristics of people that hurt them, and they take that out on people that didn't have anything to do with that. That's a very um, regular effect that it has on people. Most people do that, but I fortunately I didn't do that to anybody. I didn't turn around and treat people the way I was being. I didn't turn around and mistreat good people because I was being mistreated by somebody else. But I do understand how that can happen. I understand how people do start to feel that way, so they take it out on somebody else that don't deserve that mistreatment. And like I said again, you should be commended for. I commend you for standing up and admitting to both sides of that. You were saying something when I
And I was saying
interrupted
part of
you.
it is dealing with your shadow self, and like how I just admitted that I'm not always the victim, but I can sometimes be the perpetrator. It
Hmm.
takes, you got to get to that place in your life where you're honest with yourself. There was moments in a relationship where it wasn't just the other person. The other person can be minding their business, and I come to them on some dumb stuff because
Hmm.
either I didn't got high or drunk and I'm drugged out, and then my demons is starting to come up. They didn't rear their ugly little head. Now I'm picking with this person.
Right.
you know, I've been both. I've been the victim and the perpetrator. So I had
Wow.
to really sit down and apologize to a lot of the people. Even if they did something to me, I still apologized and admitted my part in it, saying that maybe I shouldn't have provoked you the way I did. I was dealing with my own demons, so that's why I probably said what I said to you.
Hmm. Well, I.
Like, oh, excuse me.
Hmm. You okay?
Hmm.
You need a drink of water or something?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. So, you said that you wanted to use, your dealings with being involved in drugs at one point and mental health issues. You wanted to be able to use the fact that you triumph over that to help specifically our people
Yes.
and Black youth that might be dealing with that which is very important because in a lot of ways we are targeted to things are actually put in our path to push us in those directions to go to drugs, even under the most normal circumstances anyway, because as we both know, they actually planted drugs. The government planted drugs in black neighborhoods
Hmm.
decades ago.
Started doing the
They,
Reagan administration.
yeah, they planted drugs in the black neighborhoods and then declared a war on drugs
Hmm.
so they could then turn around and throw black people in jail.
But they didn't
Um,
realize that them same drugs they put in our neighborhood started working their way into their neck of the woods. Now it's a health
Now it's turned
crisis.
around, but they didn't care. It wasn't a health crisis when it was happening to our people. It's a
Nope.
health crisis now because it's happening to their people.
And here's the thing. I did research years ago on drug addiction. The number of drug usage in our communities are actually going down, and theirs are going up faster than when ours went up.
Hmm.
So the
I see.
tables is being turned, and I
I
said that's
see it.
ain't nothing but a one. That's a mighty movie. That I hate to say it. I love people as people. You
Hmm.
know, to some degree, color really don't matter to me.
Hmm.
But I will say at the end of the day, I will always stand up for our people because we're always getting kicked when
You
we
know,
are getting kicked. But I will say that I see people as people. Like if I don't like you, it had nothing to do with your color of skin. I just don't like you.
right. Well, I will say this. Color matters to me, but it's not coming from a place of hatred,
Mm-hmm.
like some people might try to say. It's coming from a place of love and respect and honor for our ancestors and what our ancestors went through. And when I talk about believing in black on black love, it's because I want to see our people stay on this planet because there is an agenda to wipe us off the face of the planet. So I care about color only out of respect for our people and wanting to see our people thrive and succeed and to live life without constantly being um, berated and being interfered with just trying to live life. Like the young 23-year-old brother, Casey Goodson Jr., who was killed back on December the 4th, shot in his back, I believe, 3 times or something like that, while he was walking into his house with Subway sandwiches. Um, of course, the cops tried to lie and said that he was waving a gun around, which was a big lie. But they shot this young brother in his back. He was minding his business. He didn't have anything to do with what they was doing or whoever they was looking for, but they killed him in cold blood. Um, and he was 23 years old, but he had a couple of small children. Now his young black children are growing up without their
And
father.
you just made them a statistic that you make fun of us for, but they contribute to it.
Right. I saw a meme a couple of months ago where it had this little black kid, a little black boy on it, and it said, you say that our fathers are not in our lives, but that's because you kill them. It's because you're killing our fathers. You're killing our fathers. I forgot exactly how the wording was, but it's basically like that. You like to say that our fathers don't take care of us or not in our lives, but that's because you're killing them,
Right? It
or
was
you
like
or
you
you
make
throw
fun
them
of
in
us for not
jail.
having dads, but then you
Right.
turn
You
around and
saw
kill them.
that. Right. Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah, I mean, and it's true. It's true. Or they set them up and put them in jail, give them life sentences for minor nonviolent crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They put black people in jail for smoking weed or selling weed, and give them life sentences. Where somebody who Caucasian may have committed murder, especially if they kill somebody black, they might be out in 5, 10 years. um, you know, which is crazy. And now, because they've been legalizing marijuana all over the place, the same thing that they got black people sitting in jail for life, a lot of white folks are making money off of legally now.
And I've been saying for years. I said once they make marijuana legal, they need to let every small time drug offender out and receive
I totally
compensation
agree.
and give them compensation, because if y'all can make money off it, ain't. I always said this country, it ain't right until they can make money off of it.
Right.
When at
Exactly.
one point they didn't legalize, same gender loving marriages, but once they realized
Hmm.
that, oh, that's a whole new market we can tap into, then here you go.
Oh yeah, it's all about control, manipulation, and greed.
Same
It's
thing with us.
greed.
They ain't
Yeah.
outlaw segregation until they realize, wait a minute, they got more money and more influence than we got. We can use that. Bring them into society. Give them just enough to make it feel like they included.
Right, because we had all of our own shit before integration, our people had our own. We had everything that we needed. We had our own hospital. We had our own quality hospitals at that. We had our own hospitals, our own schools, our own stores, every type of store you could want. We had our own movie theaters. We had a bus company and stuff like that. I remember Dr. Claude Anderson, if you're aware who that is. You know who Dr. Claude Anderson is?
Not really, no.
He's a economist and a scholar and stuff like that. And he was talking about one of the black towns that was from the early 1900s, Wilmington, Wilmington, North Carolina, where they had their own bus company. Now, this was the early 1900s, way before Rosa Parks. Um, and they had a bus company, and it wasn't just a couple of buses. He said they had like 500 buses in this bus system that they had. So there, they didn't have to worry about getting out of their seat for a Caucasian because they had their own. They had their own. But then some of us, well, a lot of times in most of those cases, white folks destroyed those black towns because they didn't like us being able to have our own stuff. So they went and destroyed those places like Black Wall Street and Greenwood, Oklahoma, and Rosewood, which was in Florida. There were, well, I originally knew that there were several black towns
Parts
across
of
the country,
Philadelphia. Parts of Philadelphia.
but yeah, there was an area here as well, all over the place. And I found out earlier in 2020, rather, that there were actually over 100. There were actually over 100 successful black towns, um, and which most of them were destroyed by Caucasians. There was another town I found out about in California called Allensworth, California. Some people say Allenstown in the early 1900s, where this black male school teacher and this black guy who had been in the military had came together to form a town. And they went to the bank to get a loan, and they gave them the loan or whatever, I guess hoping that they would fail, hoping that the town would fail. But the town was very successful. So what they did was they began to poison the water. They began to poison the water system in that town to harm the black people because they didn't like the fact that they were being successful running their own town.
Mm.
Um, you know, and today I really, I really wish, and some other black people feel the same way. I really wish that we could form our own town today, some towns of our own today, where we're running everything, where we can declare sovereignty, and we will have our own government. We will have our own judicial system, our own police force to police our own people, and won't have to deal with their crap anymore. That's what I would really want. People say that racists infiltrated the police force,
You
and to
can't
me,
infiltrate something the
they
police force started
they
after
started
slavery
it
ended.
right. No, no, no. The police force started before slavery ended. What you're talking about is the prison system.
Hmm.
The police force started as what they call slave patrol to catch runaway slaves. To catch runaway slaves. That's how the police forces started. What happened was when they allegedly ended slavery in 1865, that's the same year they started the prison system. They started the correctional system the same year that they ended slavery. So they were like, we can't, if we can't so-called legally keep y'all as slaves anymore. We're going to find another way to have you as slaves by creating this prison system. So that, that's what they did.
And I still tell
Uh,
people, yet we still managed to rise above it.
yeah, they throw a lot of stuff at us, and we still, and this whole thing with this vaccine, I don't trust this vaccine.
I said
I'm
it gave
not.
me Tuskegee experiment vibes.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I shared an article earlier where this doctor, um, somebody had took the vaccine and he died like a few days later, right?
Mm-hmm.
From taking that vaccine. And there's been some other things. First of all, they don't even know what's in it. I don't trust it. They just threw it together. Um, and it's not even 100% that it will prevent COVID. They can't even tell you that there's 100% that will stop you from getting it and that it will stop you from spreading it to someone else. And frankly, a lot of my friends call it a plandemic, not a pandemic, but a plandemic, because I feel and some other black folks feel they planned this shit. This
It's
whole thing was
control. It's
planned.
population control.
Um,
They're targeting the elderly.
yeah, and they talking in black folks, period. Because even a few months before, well, a month and a half, almost 2 months before they started saying, um, black people were more susceptible. I made a post that they were going to start saying that, and some black people jumped on my post and were saying that I was crazy because they're showing this white actor and this black actor getting it, and so they're not going to say that black people get it easier. And then a month and a half later, what do we see all over the news? They start telling us that black people get it, are more susceptible to it. And I knew they were going to do that because that's what they always do. They always say that we get stuff quicker or easier or whatever because they always got something up their sleeve. And we're just worried about cops. We're just worried about racist cops, but racists work in every occupation,
Mm-hmm.
including in the medical profession.
And when I went to a protest, this one young girl, she was like, kind of like maybe my age, a little older. She said that she said we got to stop realizing it ain't just the cops; it's everywhere. Education, medical,
Exactly.
judicial, things like of that nature. It's not just one area. We got to really. She said if we gonna attack it head on, we got to attack all areas. We got to get people agents in all areas and be hitting it in all areas economically. We got
Hmm.
to make sure that the people that's controlling Wall Street, we got to. She said we gonna hit it. We got to hit it hard. We can't
Right,
just be focusing
exactly.
on one area. And I already had my feelings about this pandemic, but I've been saying to myself that this is all going to work for is all going to work for the good because everything that's happening will be exposed eventually, and then that's when things will start to switch. Because prime example was the Capitol. That they call it and they call it a protest. I said no. Protest is when we respect monuments. We respect the things of a
Right.
certain to a certain degree.
Hmm.
We just want the
Right.
laws to change. We want to be treated
Hmm.
as equals, but we'll leave that alone. What they did was a riot. That was you can't. I told somebody. I said I guarantee by the end of this year we will hear on 2020 somebody gonna write this whole tell-all book or whatever, however they do this thing nowadays,
Hmm.
and they're gonna tell exactly how these people got in. You can't tell me them Capitol Police let them people in.
Yeah, they let them in. You could see them moving the barriers.
They moved
I
the
saw video.
barriers, and then there's people in there taking pictures with them in
Yeah,
police uniform.
they were posing. They were posing for pictures with them. Exactly. I saw that too.
So you
Exactly.
mean
It
to tell
was
me
a.
they let them people in? I said
Yeah,
let's
they
not let
did.
this distract us from the bigger picture that they're going to try to distract us from this pandemic. They're going to try to distract us
Hmm.
from this. I mean, I'm not a
Right.
conspiracy theorist. A conspiracy is something that has yet to be proven. This stuff has been
Well,
proven for centuries on end.
let me say something about that for that term, conspiracy and conspiracy theory for a second. The only reason why there are conspiracy theories or theorists is because they have actually conspired against us. They have put conspiracies in place against us in the past. So when people say this is just a conspiracy theorist to try to be dismissive, the only reason why conspiracy theories exist is because they actually have, conspired against us. It's real. It's
It's
not
been
made
proven.
up. They have conspired against us before. And not just with the Tuskegee experiment. There's been a lot of times where they've conspired against us. I myself was in a hospital several years ago that I didn't know at the time had a reputation for killing off black patients. Um, I found out later on that they had a reputation for killing black people. Um, and black people would go into this hospital for something simple and end up dead. I was in this hospital and I was getting worse and worse. They were in there experimenting on me without my permission.
Mm.
And one of the white doctors came in my room and told me that I wasn't doing good. He was like, you know what, Mr. Ransom, you're not doing good at all. I think you need to start making funeral arrangements. This doctor actually told me to start making funeral arrangements. Now, what kind of doctor tells a patient that, even if it is
So,
true even if it is true, and they're not in good shape and they're not going to make it, you don't tell the patient that. You may tell a family member of theirs that, but you don't tell them that. And the reason why they told me that, the reason why he told me that is because he wanted me to give up hope, and he wanted me to give up hope and die so they could do whatever they wanted to with my organs or whatever. But I'm glad that the ancestors and so forth were on my side and gave me enough sense to say to my mom that I need to be taken out of this hospital. Because if I don't get out of this hospital, I'm not going to make it. Because they were definitely trying to kill me. And when I talk about that, some other black people nowadays are very dismissive about it because they didn't go through that shit. I
but I'm
went through a
happy there's
lot.
enough of us that are starting to speak out about medical indiscretions. Like one experience I had was
And wait a
I
minute, and
was
I almost died from that shit too. When I almost died from what they did to me, and I was in such bad shape when I got out of there and came back to Baltimore because that was in South Carolina. Came back to Baltimore, and I was involved in church at the time, and the pastor of that church, I was in such bad shape that when they came to the hospital to see me, and I was singing on the choir members and the pastor and all that came to see me. I was in such bad shape that he gave me my last rites
mm,
because they thought I was going to die after what they did to me down there. And when I was in that hospital down there, I woke up several times with a whole bunch of those Caucasian doctors or student doctors standing around my bed with clipboards looking at me like I'm some fucking science project and stuff.
that happened to me before too, and this is when I went to a psychiatric hospital. I am totally aware of what goes on because I went in one time and somebody thought they were helping me, which in a way it did. But I will never forget one night, much like you, I was laying in the bed and I always have this really strong sense of when something's amiss, I feel it
Hmm.
before I notice it. Before I see it visually, I feel it spiritually or
Yeah.
emotionally. And I had this strange feeling like somebody is coming in this room watching me, or somebody is
Hmm.
watching me. So I get up and I start walking around. And I'm looking for like the camera trick, the part of the camera in the ceiling trick.
Right.
So what I started doing was I start trashing the room because I said if I hit the right thing, they're gonna come in here and I'm gonna figure out where the camera is because they stupid because they look at it, see
Right.
if you're gonna do anything, they stupid. So they tell on
Hmm.
themselves. So
Yeah.
I'm just like trashing the room. They come in, they's like, what's going on? I said, I don't know. I just mad about something. And I waited to see which way she was looking. She looked up like this. I said, okay. I calmed down after that. I said, I'm fine now. Thank you. And I
Hmm.
found that camera and I put a sheet. They didn't know. I put a sheet around the thing. I put sheets in the ceiling so they couldn't see what I was doing because
Right.
because they were trying to stick me with stuff and they got so mad at me because I kept asking questions. I said, "What's that?"
Hmm.
It's like, "Oh, is this and that?" I said, "Oh, I need documents. I need papers." I said, "Go give me a paper. I'm not taking it until you give me." I was so difficult with them. I would say, "Go get me a paper that comes from a credible website and tells me what that do." And now I
Right.
look
But
at it,
you know,
I'll read it, and I'll be like, "I don't want this."
see, I didn't have strength to be climbing up nowhere because after they got through with me, I was too weak to do anything. They took bone marrow from me. They didn't have a reason. They didn't have a reason to take bone marrow out of me, and that's a very painful thing when they take bone marrow from you.
So
And
now when
they
I
did
go to
other
a
shit to
hospital,
me.
I always request a black doctor. I never request anybody else. I always say to like,
Hmm.
"Who are you comfortable with?" I say, "Give me a black male doctor."
Right. It's important, even with the whole mental health thing.
I'll say this.
If I'm going to go to a therapist, I need a black therapist. But I also not just any black therapist though. I need to go to a black therapist who loves his blackness or her blackness. Somebody who's black affirming, because not all black people love their blackness. There's some self-hating black people out here.
And those are the ones
Okay.
that'll sell you up the river.
Yeah, and so they'll do the dirty work for them.
right?
So you got to be careful with that. So if I'm going to see a therapist, they have to be black, but I have to know that they love being black and
And
they
there's
love
nothing
black.
wrong with that. It's about relation. It's about relationships. If I'm going to the
Right.
doctor, I want to feel like, hey, this brother understands what I'm going through
Hmm.
because you've seen it, you experienced it yourself. You know, like I said, like I went to the mental hospital and they were sticking me with this stuff that it slowly it slowly exhausts your heart eternally.
Right.
It's like what they do is like
Wow.
like it's almost like you ran a marathon and you're exhausted, but it's like through a
Okay.
needle. So I remember they gave it to me one time and I felt so exhausted. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to sleep.
Do you know what that was called?
No, I don't know what it was called because
Okay.
I didn't ask. But now every time I go somewhere, I don't care if I'm going for a checkup. What's that?
Right.
Tell me what it is. I'm not taking it. They be like, oh, you want a flu shot? Nope. They're
It's
like, why
see.
don't you want a flu shot? Because I take my elderberry and I take my vitamins. I don't
Hmm.
need no flu shot. They're like, you want a COVID vaccine? No, because I take my elderberry, I take my vitamins, I drink my ginger and my tea and my turmeric. I'm fine.
Right.
Certain areas I can't trust modern medicine. I'm
Hmm.
very
Oh,
holistic.
you
I'm
you
holistic
shouldn't.
when it comes to modern medicine. They'd be
You
like,
shouldn't
oh,
trust them.
you know, when I was depressed and going through what I was going through, they was trying to give me Seroquel or something with a P in it. Seroquel is something else with a P in it.
Hmm.
They gave me the highest dosage, which is 1,500 milligrams. 1,500 milligrams of that will have you like a zombie all day. Like you don't want to do nothing.
Wow. Right.
So I started getting tired of it, and I said I got to find some herbals or some natural supplements. And I went online.
Well, they want to
What
keep you drugged up so you don't know what's going on
And I
anyway.
said, nope, this is not a way for nobody to live. I said I had to
Right.
change all that. I don't believe in that. I don't take a medication. If I can find an herb for it, which there is a herb for everything, people just don't realize it. There's a herb for
Hmm.
everything. You
Yeah.
know, and they'll be like, oh, well, you know, got to consult your doctor. Of course, they're going to tell me to take the pill.
Right.
I know my body and I know how my body responds to certain things. I don't want to feel like a zombie. I don't want to feel like I'm here, but my brain is somewhere at home.
Hmm.
Or I'm so sleepy because the medicine makes you so sleepy you can't function. You can't do nothing because all you want to do is sleep all day.
That's how they want you. That's how they want us.
And, you know, so when
And
people
not
ask,
be
well, how do you feel
aware.
about the COVID vaccine? I said no. I said nothing against a person that gets it because maybe some people feel like it's safe for them, for their family. And I
Mhm.
understand some people have families they have to take care of.
Right.
But as far as I'm concerned, as a person, knowing what goes on behind the scenes,
Hmm.
I will continue to take my vitamins and my natural supplements, and I think I'll be fine. And I also pray, and I pray. I mean, the power I serve, that's the best medicine in the world. I
Okay.
do I wear a mask in public? Yes, I think we should have been doing that for years, especially during flu season. But yes, I wear a mask in public.
Right.
I don't believe in just not doing your part. I wear my mask. I wash my hands.
Okay.
I'm clean anyway, so these things are normal
Well,
to me. I
well,
feel like
see,
we should have been
that
wearing a
was
mask anyway.
wait a minute. That was funny to me that people were acting like washing your hands was a new thing.
I was like, "What
Um,
you mean wash your hands when you go to the bathroom?" Like I
I
had to ask
mean,
somebody. They
we
say, "Why we gotta wash our hands when we go to the bathroom?" I was like, "You don't
black
do
folks
that."
always been doing that.
You know, we then they be like, "Oh, wash your things with bleach." We wash our dishes with bleach anyway.
It's those other people that I've witnessed those other people go in the men's room and take a piss and go and walk straight back out the bathroom. They don't go anywhere near the sink.
I seen somebody do that
But
at McDonald's, and I went to their manager and said they ain't wash their hands.
mhm. They they do that. So you're writing. um, are you a screenwriter, right? And a poet.
Well, studying to be a screenwriter, but yes, I'm claiming
Studying.
that I'm a screenwriter. I will always identify as a storyteller,
Okay.
and I use poetry as my platform
All
because I
right.
feel like poetry doesn't have any rules. You know, contrary
So
to what people believe, people like, oh, poetry has rules. You got to follow. No, poetry can be anything you want it to be.
so when you're with your poetry, do you just like read it, or do you do it like a spoken word artist where you have all the inflections and the
I'm
energy?
more of the guy that just reads it because I want you to have an interpretation of. Now, if there's something that I feel passionate about, then I'll become the spoken word artist. But I
Okay.
always say I'm more of the storyteller. I like to bring you in to my world and let you kind of feel what it is like to be inside my head for a little bit.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So with your screenwriting, what genres are you into as far as writing about drama, comedy, mystery, romantic?
I want to focus on a little bit of drama, some mystery, and I also want to do a little bit of kid friendly stuff.
Oh, chill. Okay.
Like I actually want to work on a screenplay for like a black superhero, like a totally like made up black superhero, fictional black superhero.
Hmm.
But I want him to be kind of based on me as a kid and all the things I wish, all the
Right.
things, as a kid, you're always like, well, I wish I could fly. I wish I could do this. So I want to
Yeah.
work on a character that his whole gimmick is whatever because my name, Rakeem, it means a law unto itself.
Okay.
So basically it means as I think or speak, so it shall be.
Right.
So I want a kid that has that kind of superpower, like the power of what is it called? Not mental manipulation. The power of speech. Like everything he says, he can do. Like if he
Right.
says, "Hey, I want to fly," he says, if he says I can fly or I am able to fly, he'll be able to
Hmm.
fly. If he says I can stop this car, he can stop the car. But I want him to start as a kid that as kids do when they find they can do something, they do a lot of it.
Oh yeah.
So I want him to go from like a little kid to like a teenager, and then as he gets older, he kind of really starts to understand that he has a gift that he can use to help other people. So he kind of becomes like a superhero, but kind of like a not typical superhero. He's not flying around in a costume.
Okay.
He kind of just goes. He
Cool.
kind of goes into people's
Well,
lives,
don't
help
give away
them.
too much. Don't give
Yeah,
away too much.
yeah. I'm
Don't
gonna
give
leave
away
it.
too much
It's a
because
project.
people
It's gonna be a long time before that comes.
don't give away too many details because people will watch and people will watch and steal your ideas. So you can't give away too many too many details,
So I
bro.
got to leave. I'll leave some stuff out. I made changes. So
Right. Because some people don't have an imagination of their own and they will steal your shit.
oh,
Sure.
trust me, I know. I had a couple. I had a few of my things stolen before.
Yeah. And I think there's somebody that was trying to steal my next film idea. That's how come I didn't put too much out there about it. I put something I might have put a little bit too much out there, but not didn't give it I didn't give away all the different little nuances and stuff like that. So and I'll change it up anyway, you know. Um and so you told me about today, which I did not know. You mentioned earlier about painting and drawing and stuff. I didn't know that you did that too.
Yes, and
Okay.
it's something that I discovered recently. It was like sometime in 2019, and I love the idea of creating something from just simple things like color pencils and markers and paint, and watching people just admire it and having their own interpretation of it. Like you can paint a heart on a black piece of paper, and people were like, "Well, what does that mean?" And
Hmm.
everybody will have a different answer for you.
Oh, true. I mean, just like with me being a writer as well, screenwriter and actor and singer and stuff like that. Like with my film that's out there now, my short film, The Eternal Extra. People got different interpretations of it, how they feel about it or whatever. But I know what I meant for it to do. Um, you know, but I feel good about it, and it's something that goes against the status quo because I'm not about trying to please the status quo. I try to use my artistry to enlighten Black people and to empower our people and to heal our people. So that's what I'm about doing with my artistry and so forth. Um, so with your writing, when do you think you may have your first script together? Will it
Well,
be a short? Will it be a short script or a full length film?
I'm feeling like the first one will be relatively short. It's more like just my introduction into this is what I'm gonna do. This is what
Hmm.
my intention is, and I'm gonna kind of let the world know like this is my intention. And then the next one will be the actual full length, like details, character development, story arc.
Yeah, with the short film, yeah, especially for your first, that might be easier to get it shot quicker, especially like if you don't have a big budget to get to get the full length film done. That short film will help put your name out there um first, and especially if you like keep down on the amount of locations that you need. Because locations are not always easy to find when you're shooting a film. So unless you just know people like that that have hookups with different locations you might need who may let you use it, then yeah. But other than that, um, for the first one, I probably would keep the locations down to like maybe three locations or whatever. Or maybe some people have done short films with everything in the same room. With my last film, we had more than one location. We had quite a few locations, but we were able to use one of the locations for like two or three different scenes.
Wow.
We just made it look different, actually. Just made the same room look different. Um, like a different place. Got to be creative with it.
I know.
you know,
Sometimes you got to do what your money allows you to do.
yeah, and do what the ancestors have put in your path. Then sometimes the ancestors will put people in your path to help you as well, allow you to get things done. Like one place I needed to do like this birthday party scene at this club type place or whatever, and I happen to know a brother that has a business. Um, it's like a black owned hookah lounge, but it's also a place where you can decorate it and have it set up to look like a banquet place or for a reception and stuff like that. And I basically just called him up and I said, I need to shoot a party scene. Would you let me use your place? And he was like, sure. So this brother let me shoot there. He didn't charge me anything to shoot there. And another time with another project, I had to shoot a scene in a restaurant. It's a black-owned restaurant here in Baltimore, um, called Terra Cafe, and he allowed me to shoot there in his restaurant, um, free of charge, because he knew I didn't have it like that at the time. And and with him is that he really did well because he allowed us to shoot not only in the restaurant part, but also in the kitchen of the restaurant. Because in the story that I was doing, the mother in the story owns a restaurant. She owns her own restaurant, and there's a scene that takes place in the kitchen of the restaurant as well. And he allowed us to go into the kitchen of the restaurant and shoot this scene there. We were there from like 6 o'clock in the morning or 6:30 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning until like 2 in the afternoon. And you know, I feel good about the fact. See, people always say that black people don't help each other, but in that case, they do. We do help each other, and the reason why they did help is because, with my case, there wasn't the same stereotypical stuff. Um, it's actually about a strong black family that have, you know, healthy connections with each other. I mean, they're not perfect because no family is perfect, but they don't have the so-called over-the-top issues.
Right.
Like there's no there's no stabbing each other in the back. There's no, you know, sleeping with each other's spouses and stuff like that in the family and all that kind of stuff. I wasn't doing that mess. Well, we had a lot come out today. Um, Stuff that didn't get discussed when we tried to do it before. Feel really good about this conversation. I think it went really well. Is there anything else that you want to say?
No, I think I'm pretty good. I mean, I support the arts. So, anytime that I can have a chance to do something new or something fun and exciting, I'm always want to do it. Like I always wanted to be on stage, but I never liked the way I sounded to myself.
Hmm. You sound fine.
But I always like, everybody's always compliment. They said I'm very well spoken, very eloquent.
Hmm.
So I guess that's one of the key steps you need to be a good stage person. And I know how to project very well.
Well, we're gonna have to try to check your acting chops out. There's nothing wrong with the way that you speak at all.
And I learned to embrace my voice. Like it's very. Somebody said it's very like present. Like I'm here,
Right.
and it's just something I'm learning to embrace about myself as well. Because
Well,
if I want to learn how to perform, if things open back up the way they're supposed to, I'm going.
hmm
My first thing is I want to step back out onto the spoken word circuit and put my name back out there again because I stepped away for like years because I felt like I
right.
wasn't getting any real response. But now that I've had time to I got a lot to talk about now. So this next time this go around is going to be a whole different type of vibe. It's going to be from a different place, a different mindset.
All right. I like that. I like that. Maybe we'll work together one of these days.
I would love
Yeah.
it. I'm always open to a good collaboration.
Me too. Definitely. We can make that happen. I look forward to hopefully getting back out there. I was in the middle of rehearsing for a play when this whole thing happened. So of course that got all shut down, you know. We were in a good place too. The last couple of productions we did were very well received and everything. The audience was really great. And we always do talkbacks after our shows. We have a talkback with the audience. And the last show that we did was a very powerful show. We had some young black um, boys in the audience as well. It was a show called For Black Boys who considered homicide when the streets were too much. Um, it's a choreo poem type play. And it was very well received the way we did it, and the talkback was a very powerful discussion, very powerful discussion. I wish we had gotten that talkback part on video, but definitely look forward to talking to you further and working with you at some point. We're gonna make that happen, and I'm so happy, that you're still here with us. You know, like I said, that's because their ancestors and the Creator wanted you here. They got stuff for you to do, bro. You tried to take your stuff away from here 31, 32 times, and all those times failed, and you're still here, and I'm happy that you're still here. But thank you for being on episode 6 of the C Note. And one day when we are back out here and we're able to be in the same room and not have to do it online like this, we're going to get together where we can actually have a face-to-face interview, like with the whole backdrop and all that says the C Note up on the wall. I'm going to have you back. So thank
Speak
you
it
so
into
much.
existence.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Right now, I'm trying to pull things together, so hopefully I can start shooting my next film um, in March, no later than April, which is a very important project because for me, this will be my first project that will involve some same gender loving characters. Um, my first couple of films did not involve any same gender loving characters intentionally because myself being a same gender loving black man, I and being a writer, I knew that's what was expected of me, but my sexual orientation does not define me. It's only one aspect of who I am. And I played a whole lot of different roles and plays over the years and stuff like that. So I didn't want my first couple of films to have anything to do with that because I didn't want anybody to put me in that box. But this particular next project does have some same gender loving characters in it. And it's a very important project because it's about a friendship between 6 black men who have a close brotherhood despite their differences. Because one of them, well, 3 of them are same gender loving, and 2 of them are heterosexual, and one is bisexual. But they have a close brotherhood that they don't let that interfere with their friendship. Um, and they all look out for the black community. They all care about the black community. And so in this project, you will see you will see examples of healthy black heterosexual love, and you will see examples of healthy black same gender loving love as well in this project. So it's a very important project I'm trying to put together. So, but thank you again, Rakeem Jamal, for being on here on the C Note, episode 6. I thank you so much.
Thank you. I
And
appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
of course, bro, thank you and talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Have a good one.
All right. Peace, bro.
Peace.